Welcome in to Academy. Myself, Mad Magical, joined in by the one and only Cage in the Rage. We got the duo back in town. I am excited for some action here in the Academy broadcast for Week 3, Day 2. Sam, it's been a while since we got a cast together.
I remember I was a younger man back then, but Magical,
Same.
We are back once again, and we are grizzled, we are old, and we are here to watch some League of Legends.
That we are, and we've already had a lot of action already going on. Like I said, this is Week 3, Day 2 for Academy. A lot has happened during this time, and we get to see exactly what has been going on throughout the midst of it all. And you can see here, it's actually been a lot of fun, chaotic fights certain places, but also some really clean gameplay elsewhere.
Honestly, I've been impressed with the Academy talent coming out this year, especially looking at Keel. He's been one of those junglers that's been up and rising and really showing what he can do, even in this lineup that he hasn't necessarily showed us with in Academy, but he does have them on the roster. They have practiced before, and I'm excited to see what they can do for us today.
And as you saw before, Dignitas, the team we'll see first off, but also 100 Thieves. And 100 Thieves have been this team. A lot of their talent brought up from their 100 Thieves next roster, now getting their shot here in Academy and really being able to prove themselves. Kenby being one of the main catalysts for that. And just seeing him book it right across is always a fun thing. And he's a young, up-and-coming talent that has been doing so well. Him and Tenacity both.
Just coming into Academy, being able to show up all these veterans that have been around the scene for so long and doing as well as they have, adapting to the meta. I'm curious if they'll be able to keep this up and if this continues rolling in their favor.
Well, and that's the thing. They did have a hiccup yesterday, unfortunately, up against Evil Genius's Academy. But they got to make sure that they're kind of figuring out what went wrong, what they messed up on, because they had a sizable lead and still faltered. And speaking of sizable leads, Cloud9 Academy, I don't know how they keep managing this. They fall behind early in the game and yet still pull out these victories.
You know, it has to be on Westrice because no matter what the composition is, no matter what players you have, it's always this play style of maybe not do so well early to mid, pick up a fight, and suddenly Cloud9 Academy are always in the lead. I don't know what it is about this team. I have to assume that Westrice is the mastermind behind all this.
Something in the food, definitely.
Yep.
That's got them going on. As right here, FlyQuest Academy, been a very strong team, and Dreams has been one of those players that I think now that he's been slotted in permanently with this roster has been able to show just how aggressive he can play with the team that themselves like to play aggressive.
And you know, if we're talking about former Cloud9 Academy members, Tomo on FlyQuest Academy has just been popping off this season. Yes, the rest of FlyQuest around him have also been incredibly strong. Kumo in the top lane, especially NXI, this brand new exciting jungler that came in last season, is doing so well on this lineup, and I'm excited to see them play today.
Yeah, they're getting one of probably the spiciest matchups that we have for the day up against Team Liquid Academy. And speaking of which, the undefeated team here. Jenkins in this fight, I remember watching it and be like, oh, he's just dead, right?
There's just no way
he lives.
There's
no way he lives. And somehow he's able to keep this fight going for so damn long that Tapoon got himself baited. He's like, I got this. Look at me. I got it. And then Ormao was like, no, he thought I'm here to save the day.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, just as a Gnar player myself, I know what it's like to see that Lulu, to see those Enchanter supports, Enchanter top laners, I should say, get away with 2 HP. It's the most tilting thing in the world, Magical, and hopefully his mental is reset and he will be able to play again today.
That's at least what you're hoping for. You're hoping that you're going to be able to come back, bounce back into that, because you can see the schedule up on your screen. We started off with 100 Thieves Academy versus Dignitas Academy. Pretty much both of them trying to fight for the middle of the pack, trying to make sure that they're going to be able to go dead even. As you get further, Cloud9 Academy and Immortals Academy, both of them I think sitting right there towards the top, where it's 4-1 and 3-2 respectively. Of course, Immortals Academy, they lost to the undefeated Team Liquid Academy just yesterday, so they would like to be able to take the game off of Cloud9 and tie up that record.
But also, looking at that Team Liquid, they're going to be against FlyQuest Academy, who have been on fire the last couple of weeks, and especially playing today, are coming in hot. So Team Liquid better be ready to play, because that undefeated streak might not last forever.
Exactly. You never know, but I do kind of want to... You skipped over the TSM and
did.
CLG Academy games, and that's definitely going to be right there in the middle, where we're going to see how we see teams that have been kind of struggling as of late. CLG Academy were able to get an upset win over Cloud9 Academy early on, but since then have faltered. You've seen that their roster has kind of shifted about all over the place. They've been really trying to see what's going to work best for them. Well, TSM Academy, they've got a very solid roster. They have a bunch of great players. They just need to find that cohesion. They need to find that synergy to be able to bounce back into the game, and then at the end of the day, we'll close it out with Golden Guardians Academy versus Evil Geniuses Academy. Both teams, again, sitting towards the bottom, but of course they would like to be able to get a rise up and see what they're going to be able to accomplish later on.
It's going to be exciting to see, and with 5 games in mind, Magical, I have to wonder, are these players all going to be feeling great at the end of the week? Because we're already halfway through the season. And if we're thinking about beyond, we have to think about you have to make every single game count. So even though this is just one regular season day, even though for all of these teams it's just one game, it matters. It really does.
And speaking of that, Sam, one day at a time, they got to focus on today. We started off, like I said, with 100 Thieves Academy and Dignitas Academy. Let's dive deeper into 100 Thieves Academy. I mentioned before, they have a good amount of rookies that came in from 100 Thieves next. And they, on paper, should be this really strong team, but they have had a couple hiccups, yesterday especially, where it looked like they had this dominating early lead that Kenby was able to really lead them through this charge. They had the Ocean Soul Dragon as well that made everyone think that they were going to be able to clean that one out, but they had some massive hiccups when it came to these later stage fights, as well as getting themselves picked up.
You know, honestly, I was really impressed. Poom managed to play a Rel that wasn't really the greatest Poom we've ever seen, but Rel really is a champion that, if played properly, and hopefully Poom recognizes that, maybe needs to be banned away. Maybe they can make this work on 100 Thieves, but otherwise, I mean, it's just so difficult to play against Seraphine, and maybe that's another pick that they need to look at and say, we're not going to play it. We need to ban that off first stage.
Yeah, but you can still see here in this game where it looks like, despite any hiccups that they might have had, you know, Ryoma is 5-0 at one point on this mid Lucian. It looks like they have all this pressure that they should be able to win out. They can get solo kills left, right, and center, but they just weren't able to work together as a team to close out the game. And so that's what I want to see them here going into this matchup. Find out what went wrong in those later fights that really ended up spelling doom for them.
It's really going to be a difficult process for both of these teams. And honestly, looking again at Dignitas, who's going to be coming in, I'm curious to see whether or not they can shore up their weaknesses and really bring out the best that Tenacity has to offer. Because more often than not, this guy is playing well, but then comes the moment where it doesn't go all the way right. He gets caught out, and sometimes for the worst.
And Lorlo is one of those players that can easily punish someone who's either a little bit too aggressive or just disrespects in the slightest manner. He's been a top laner that so many people have talked about in the past, and I can imagine him doing the same here against Tenacity. And Acadian, too. The Acadian's one of these players, while it might not be his strongest season of his entire career right now, he is still a player that you have to fear. You have to fear how he's going to be able to play around his top side of the map, how he's going to be able to utilize Lorlo and Yusui to find those advantages and then try to see if they can get the bot lane into a similar position.
Honestly, playing around top seems like the right play. Playing around mid also seeming like a pretty good play, just because Yusui has been showing what he can do on these mid-control mages. It is his meta, and he is here to play. His victories speak for themselves. You can see that farm. You can see that CS lead. Just fantastic play out of him so far this season.
And Yusui is one of those players that I always love watching. He has such a unique champion pool where you see the things that he can bust out, and in fact, already doing so this split, where he's got Sylas, Lucian, Tristana, Yone, and Azir. He has pretty much not kept it consistent at all. He's played a myriad of different styles, and probably will continue it. I'm wondering when the Rumble is going to be busted out.
You think the Rumble's going to be busted out? Because honestly, we've seen Rumble in Academy.
Eventually, of course it's going to get busted out.
I think you're going nuts, but at the same time, this is a pretty nuts team. Dignitas, they bring the memes, they bring the heat. Hopefully in Champ Select, they'll be able to show us something different.
Yeah, as we are going to jump into Champion Select for our first game of the day between 100 Thieves Academy and Dignitas Academy. You can already see the Camille and Pantheon, a staple band, someone who is always benched, not like Tom Kent. He's pretty much just going to be taking up that slot entirely himself.
And this is what I was talking about. Dignitas Academy, they recognize how strong the Seraphine is. They're going to be banning that away on red side. No surprises there. Thresh going to be banned away from JJ. Very interesting on the first round to not ban away something like the Udyr, something like the Kaisa, which has had an amazing presence on this patch. I'm curious why they felt JJ's Thresh was such a threat versus all of the meta champions that are going around.
Yeah, JJ does like to play that champion a lot still. It is one of his more preferred, but it is surprising to see it this early. It's something that you would have expected a little bit later. pretty much taking a slot that you wonder what else could have been placed there. You already mentioned the Seraphine, but that was on the other side. I'm wondering things like that Kaisa that they're hovering, Udyr, that they're not going to have to trade that over, saying that you're expecting a Gideon to lock that in immediately on the other side. I mean, hell, even Olaf is something that has not been banned by either squad.
Olaf going to be the hover here, and I imagine that's going to be the pick. Acadian plays a pretty good Olaf, able to get aggressive, and I feel like it's a good matchup into Udyr at the very least, so they're really daring Kenvi to take it away, because yes, it is the meta choice, but it might not be the best against the Olaf. I might want to see something a little different just to deal with that, and speaking of a little different, the Xayah going to be locked in for spawn. Maybe this shows the Rakan, but I don't know that I've seen JJ play a Rakan so far this season.
Also, now we have a blind Azir locked in by Ryoma, and while I don't necessarily think that Azir is a bad champion, in fact, we've been seeing him starting to get a lot more praise and a lot more plays, it's not necessarily something I would want to take blind, especially because you can have something like Victor grabbed immediately by Yasui, another unique champion coming in from this Dignitas mid laner, where he has so many different champions that he can bust out. I don't necessarily agree with just going into this saying, yes, we're okay with putting Azir in a blind matchup, doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, so looking at all these matchups, we've got the mids, we've got the junglers, we've got the AD carries. All that's left is the tops, which I imagine Dignitas wants to save that for very last, make sure that Lorlo can get the matchup that he wants. Everything is still on the table. Alistar going to be banned away. Yes, Camille's gone, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And the Rakan that I was just talking about, that's off the table as well. So Gnar is still very much viable on the top. Gangplank's still viable on the top. It's going to be a battle to see what Tenacity favors, knowing that he's going to be against his counter matchup.
And it's funny because I'm expecting to see where you normally would expect to see the top lane be the one that gets the champion pool pinched. Not expecting it to be more of the support bands, the Alistar, Rakan, as you mentioned, both of which pair pretty decently with that Xayah. I would have expected to see maybe something like the Bard taken away. Just try to make sure that you're taking some pressure and some laning priority, even though Bard doesn't necessarily pair well with Kaisa. You want something more like a Jhin to be able to get that full lane bully prevalence. Maybe I would have expected to see Nautilus taken away, something that pairs up and tries to get that level 2 power spike over something that's a little bit weaker in lane like Xayah.
So now the Leona seems to be the only true meta support left. You talked about the Nautilus a lot. I feel like there's a certain possibility for that. But Leona might just be better for this team, so they have that long-range engage that they're really lacking right now, but the Rel actually going to be locked in. And JJ, let's see what he can do on this.
Alrighty, that's the other thing I was about to ask you too. I'm like, well, Rel is still up, and Rel to me is a very similar champion to Leona. Maybe not quite as easy to pilot, but something that wants to be able to go all in, disrupt the backline, be able to pull everyone in. I always love seeing a Rel with an Orianna because you can get that magnetic field to pull everyone in, Shockwave on top of it to be able to really eviscerate the backline. But Jace gets locked in by 100 Thieves Academy here, and Jace is a pick that we've been seeing slowly creep back up in the meta. Something that historically does well into Gnar.
Yep.
You already mentioned the Gnar being left open, so of course you want to say, hey, are you going to dare you take that Gnar right now? It would be a bad matchup, and you'd be the ones picking yourselves into a counter.
And that is something you have to think about, is not only what's meta, but also what counters what. So Jace coming out, it has been picked a few times. It's not necessarily the most common. And speaking of not the most common, set support going to be locked in.
We haven't seen that in a while.
That's a fresh pick coming in. And with Kaisa, I think that actually pairs pretty well. A lot of CC to come in, a lot of engage, and a lot of ability to deal with any tank tops that might show up.
Well, and speaking of tank tops, Ornn being hovered, locked in by Lorlo. So it's going to be more on tenacity to be able to play this lane aggressively into Lorlo, wanting to be able to bully him around. We even were questioning how this matchup was going to go. Lorlo, someone who's been like the gatekeeper of Academy, say, you have to best me if you want to be able to get into LCS, because he has been so dominant, so great at being able to punish some of these newer players. Tenacity, young kid who's just coming in from 100 Thieves next last year, showing that he's being able to keep up, go toe-to-toe with them. But he's still got to take down Lorlo. Sure, you have the advantage. Jace into Ornn, but it's still an Ornn who's just going to be a tanky boy that no matter how many times you put him down, he's always going to be able to come right back.
This also adds for a lot of scaling on the side of Dignitas Academy. You already had Xayah and Victor who scale pretty well into the late game, but you're against the Kaisa, so I like this answer. Being able to deal with the fact that you have an Olaf who's going to fall off just a little bit, admittedly, in 11.2. It's been not quite a lot, but with Ornn, So much you can do with it. We've gotten into game. Let's start it off. Game 1, 100 Thieves Academy, Dignitas Academy.
See, I'm glad you did the intro because I got distracted. I've been casting a lot of North American Amateur. I've been really involved in that. And every goddamn time I see an Udyr, they take Ghost.
Yep.
Every time.
What's up with that?
I don't get the Flash Bear Slap. I get the Flash Bear Slap now. I'm so happy. You don't know how happy this makes me to see Kenvi with Flash.
It's definitely going to be exciting. It's definitely the right thing to do, especially versus an Ornn and an Olaf, because there is no way to get through that with Ghost. You're going to have to deal with zone control character after zone control character, and Udyr, he's not very good at that with Ghost.
Sam, you're talking all this lingo of strategy and things that actually matter. All I care about is Flash Bear Slap.
True.
That's all I care about. That's as far as my interest goes.
Well, you know, Magical, there's going to be a lot interesting this game because, again, this is kind of riding on both these teams, sitting at 2 and 3 to see who can break to even and who's going to stay towards the bottom of the pack.
Notice how Sam keeps trying to bring it back to...
I'm trying, man.
He's trying to keep this, you know, before I derail it like always, back in the old days when I would just derail conversations like I'm doing right now in very obvious ways that are slightly meta because I'm acknowledging that I'm derailing the conversation while actively derailing the conversation.
Magical, how do you want me to respond to that? That's all I want to know is, you keep talking about derailing, you want me to follow up, be the good color caster, but what do you want? What do you want from me? I'm just a man. I'm just a mortal man. Trying to sit here, watch some League of Legends. I don't know what to do, Magical. I
don't know. I always thought that you were immortal.
I
thought that you were this being from, like, space that came in. That's at least what I thought.
Well, unfortunately, from the planet Earth, living in the state of California right now, as are the Dignitas players. They are currently sitting under turret. You can see Spawn and JJ just kind of getting threatened by Poom on this set pick, which, again, haven't seen it in a while. Maybe it'll work this time. I feel like in this lane, pretty decent matchup in Terrell. Just able to get the disengage he wants and get the engage that he needs versus Isaiah before 6.
As we can see, Kenvi hanging around towards the bot side. Him and Acadian both on the same side of the map, but I kind of do want to go back to that point you were making the spot lane with the fact how Poom is able to play this one. I feel like, one, it comes down to the pathing of Kenvi, as he is going to be on the bottom half. They knew that this Kaisa set lane was going to be able to play so aggressively. That is one of the problems with picking Xayah. It's almost this weak side ADC that you're expecting not necessarily to be able to have the most pressure in the lane. And Kaisa, while being low range, if she has something that can play aggressively, this is why I mentioned the Nautilus before, because it was one of those staple lanes that was able to play aggressively if they got level 2 first. And that is exactly what they were able to do with Set. So they could always position Poom in a position where he was going to be able to either flash in, Hex Flash now, to threaten the Dignitas squad that they can't step up. And that's why Kenvi needs to hang around towards the bot side of the map, because you expect Acadian to be nearby as well.
I would think that he's going to try to play towards that top side, because if Lorlo ever goes down, it's going to be a problem.
Kenvi spotted out, Hex Flash by Poom. All right, Yusui, smart call there to be able to back out beforehand. That was a very interesting attempt by the side of 100 Thieves Academy. I respect it, but Yusui, he knew better. He was like, no, not today. I know this play too well.
And Yusui, I mean, that's just the experience coming through, right? No matter what character he's playing, he knows when the attack is coming. He knows how to communicate with his team. And Dignitas have the counterattack. You could already see Acadian pathing towards the top side, even though Tenacity is backing. Not necessarily out of danger once he comes back.
Oh, X Flash by Boom. JJ too far up, taking a lot of damage, trying to see if he can get away. He had to flash away from the punch. And that should be able to keep him alive, even though Andy Bennett taking a lot of damage, having to use the heal to be able to keep the fight going up against Spawn. So that both Spawn and JJ staying further back. No flash burned by Spawn, but a lot of summoners were burned by both squads.
One thing I'd like to point out is Spawn already has his cleanse back up. So in the first couple minutes of the game, it looks like Poom flashed in, got a summoner out of Spawn, and now, with that a couple seconds away, he's going to go in.
Draws him back, and first blood, too easy for Andy Benny Poom, even given the dab, showing how easy it is on this set.
I love it. He's coming in with a fresh pick, going against the Rel, able to get the first blood with an aggressive level 1 play, culminating in the level 4 kill.
And that's one of those things when you can play aggressively in your bot lane, when you have this support that normally you kind of wonder how it's going to be able to pair up against some matchups, especially if you can get poked out. Well, Rel's not going to be able to poke out a set. that's not going to have too much. So when we get to this replay, it's all just about him walking up menacingly.
And just getting that max range on the face splitter. Very good pull in and able to get the stun as well as the initial ignite. Just because he knew Spawn had 10 seconds left on that cleanse, he wasn't going anywhere.
Nope, and easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Ryoma going to be able to use Emperor's Divide onto Yusui, but it was a Chaos Storm with the Gravity Field too. Boom. Threatening nearby, but it is going to be both sides backing out of that one. Again, no flashes burned by these mid laners. They're being very cautious and very reserved with using those summoner spells.
And look at the bottom. Kenvi gonna come in for a gank against Spawn.
Cleanse. There it is. Cleanse flash blown. That's why I was wondering. Like Spawn, it looked like he was in a bad position, but with both of his summons up, he should have been able to get out of that one pretty much scot-free.
But now you know what happens. The Dragon's going to be started, and Spawn is going to continue to be the target before he hits this level 6. And without summoners, I have to imagine Kenvi can continue his trend that he's had this entire season of focusing the bot lane, getting Andy Bendy ahead, and hopefully using that bot lane to rotate through the map and make sure he gets those early objectives, whether it's the Herald or the Dragon.
And look at this, another Dragon gonna be in his pocket. It's the first one of this game, but this is something very typical of 100 Thieves, as you were mentioning, playing so heavily on the spot side, and it worked so well in this composition, with Tenacity playing this Jace in the top lane up against Lorelor's Ornn, never really having to worry about visiting that. Instead, you're just worried about where Acadian is, and if you can always control the pace of the bottom half of the map, you know he has to be on the top half, which means Tenacity can just play reserved and will be fine.
And speaking of playing reserved, you can see how under turret Spawn is at this moment. JJ trying to support him as best as he can, but, you know, it's just what happens when you don't have summoner spells as a Xayah. You talked about weak side starting off for this character, and now that we have a lead for Andy Bendy and the completed Serrated Dirk, he is going to continuously push, and even without an objective, he's going to be a very big threat.
Acadian, again, because they know they can't get anything on the bottom half of the map, he's trying to make this play on the top half. That's only place he can really do anything for the time being. He needs to be able to either punish Kenvi, punish Tenacity, punish anybody. But it's unfortunately just looking like it's going to be a trade. Might even see Kenvi head straight towards the blue buff on the other side to be able to get a good trade. That way you're not really worrying about giving up anything to Acadian in any meaningful capacity.
Well, speaking of giving things up, Spawn gonna have to back off. You saw how low his health bar got after a small engage coming in from Dignitas.
Look how low his CS is too.
Yeah, almost 30 loss. Wow. Incredible early play out of Andy Bendy, but this is also a lot to do with the matchup. Kai'Sa just does so much early on. If she gets that first blood, man, can she do so much with a Noon Quiver and a Serrated Dirk.
Right, and that's the funny thing, is that Andy Bendy went for the Serrated Dirk first over going for the Noon Quiver. Said, you know what? I don't really need to be able to have that attack speed just yet. I want to be able to get more damage in this lane. I want to be able to consistently bully Spawn to the point where he doesn't even want to join the bot lane. Heading to the top side because, again, that's the only place where Dignitas feel comfortable to make any sort of a play.
And this is where they start the Rift Herald. Going to be able to get this pretty quickly. I also like the rotation coming out of Spawn and JJ, knowing they were on weak side, knowing they had to back early, and with this loss, they're going to have to switch things up. So with the advantage and with the early rotations, maybe they'll be able to pick up some CS, maybe they'll get Lorelo in a good spot, and maybe get Tenacity off of his comfort zone.
They are threatening this dive. They are starting to path JJ and Acadian, just in case they want to look for it. But you can see from the gold right now who's got the most. I mean, it's expected that it's going to be Andy Bendy. Nearly 1,000 gold already. We're only 9 minutes into the game. That's how much separates these two ADCs.
I also want to talk about the mid lane. You can see Ryoma has a 20 CS lead right now. That translated to about 400 gold, and a lot of that is the matchup, but also the presence of Kenvi, just able to go towards the bot side and then immediately rotate towards the mid. Acadian just has nothing to do.
All the forward god, double knock up on his Tenacity. He's locked down forever, and he's dead immediately. Boom, had a shield, and it's gone right there. Easy dive coming in from Dignitas. Well played by them as well.
Good response coming in. I definitely like the fact that they saw the rotation and they were able to get onto Tenacity with 4 members. So very well played and a great response from Dignitas after a not so great early game.
No, and then also Yusui got dove by Kenvi and Ryoma. So it was a trade of sorts from the side of 100 Thieves Academy, getting at least something on the map so they can get a lot of plates into the pockets of Ryoma. Will probably be the trade of first turret going over to Dignitas to help them out since we talked about how Spawn was struggling in that landing phase, getting a lot more extra gold here from minions, from the plates, from the turret, that hopefully is going to be able to get him in a position where he's going to feel confident going into these team fights.
Oh, I'd say he's more than confident at this point, Magical. You can see him pushing onto these final plates, just one left on the bottom turret. Dignitas and 100 Thieves are feeling very, very confident, even with that loss topside. They only lose the one turret. That is A-okay in this situation, as long as you get Andy Bendy as far ahead as possible.
Yeah, they trade the turret, and they got 2 plates mid, 4 plates bot, nearly taking that turret down as well. All they have to do is pretty much rinse and repeat, and they might be able to get that. Hell, they could even set up a dive if they want to be able to make a similar play like was made on Tenacity and Poom topside.
See, the main difference between that, and we'll take a look at this replay where Ryoma and Kenvi went onto Yusui, able to get a lot of damage down, and actually, I believe, get that kill. Very well done by Ryoma. And that's just what you can do when you have the jungle pressure, and Udyr always brings that every time he gets played. Yes, he doesn't have a lot of mobility, but he does have a very nasty counter jungle.
Let's say he got a nasty counter jungle, and once he's got the turbo chem tank, now he's a fast boy. Now he's got the mobility to be able to move around with the help of that phase rush as well. It's going to be difficult to stop him from running the back line down, running into anybody, and controlling, again, the bottom half of the map where the dragon just spawned.
And with the dragon spawning up, you can already see Tenacity in position. So 5 members of 100 Thieves are already ready to get onto this dragon, and hopefully they'll be able to pick it up soon. It's been started, and you have to imagine that Dignitas Academy don't have the positioning to fight this.
No, Acadian also felt like he had to smite onto the ground just to be able to keep some of his CS to himself, and once that was used, you knew that Kenby's like, perfect, he can't possibly steal this. I got smite advantage, I'm gonna be able to get this. We already have the bot lane pushing, more gold into Andy Bendy's pockets, getting the second dragon, getting an ocean rift as well. Right now, things are looking great if you're looking at the bottom half of the map for the side of 100 Thieves, and as long as they keep playing around this advantage, they can keep slowly accruing more and more of a lead, so eventually there's nothing Dignitas can do.
And this is the playstyle that they've acquired and done so well with this season, 100 Thieves Academy, able to push on to the mid side now. I imagine that's where their efforts are going to be, and hopefully they'll be able to get that second Rift Herald just so they can push it a little bit harder and hopefully get that second tier mid turret, because once that's down, they have the entire map to themselves.
I like what 100 Thieves have done. They got everything on the bottom half of the map. Why hang around there any longer? You send Andy Bendy topside again. He's got a 2-level lead over Spawn. And that's just the ADC's difference. That's a massive disparity between the two that allows Andy Bendy to continue to play this aggressively, since what can you do as Spawn and JJ? If you try to make this play, you don't know where Poom is, you didn't know where Tenacity is. If you try to go aggressively, they're going to be able to punish you, and they still might even set up a dive.
They got 4 members top, Dignitas setting up with 3, but Rel is incredibly hard to dive, especially with a Xayah 80 carry. So 100 Thieves Academy wisely back off, decide this is not worth it. They instead try to set up the vision and maybe go for this aggressive jungle play instead.
Trying to pretty much just move where their pressure was from before, where prior it had been on the bottom quadrant of the bottom half of the map. Now they're able to flex their muscle and their might a little bit more around the red buff on the top side of Dignitas, who want valiantly to be able to retain anything for Acadian. They don't want him to be able to fall too far behind.
Stole it.
Envy might have. Oh, did he really?
He got it.
Tragic for Acadian.
Oh man, Kenvi just back and forth, able to play that one out pretty well and take away the objective from Spawn, who it looks like they were trying to give it over to. Now without a red buff, it's not the biggest of losses, but it is a flex. And I gotta say, when you're playing Udyr on the base skin, you are flexing pretty hard.
And that's the thing. It's the flex that it was 1v3. He held his ground, was able to say, I'm still gonna steal this. This is going to be mine. You're not allowed to have it. And then being able to steal and get away with it. That there's not really much that Dignitas felt they can do against Kenvi. They need to be able to find something now on the map. And this is what we have to look at for Dignitas. You know, since they've lost the top half, rotate down, bottom half, look to see what other objectives they might be able to get. The Rift Herald, as you mentioned, they could have gone for had it not been for 100 Thieves moving their control onto that top half of the map.
And look at this timing from Kenvi. He's taking the back now so he can go to the top side of the map and contest that Rift Herald. If they manage to get it, imagine the damage they're going to be able to do Magical. They can either create the super long lane top against Lorlo and against Spawn so that there's nothing they can do, or they could send it mid, try to get more of that base pressure, and hopefully invade more with Kenvi, who's been just so aggressive this entire game. Maybe make some plays onto Yusui, make the plays onto Spawn to keep them down as long as possible.
at Kenby. What is he doing? Got
there
the control in the top half. It sees a Rift Herald and says, "This is mine, thank you."
And that's going to be a pretty easy take. You can see JJ setting up, but he's already lost half his health, so he's not going to be the engage. Acadian also just getting a little bit poked back and forth. Those Sand Soldiers, very irritating. And Kenby is uncontested.
Going to be able to get that, and that's where we wonder where Kenby is going to send that eye. Send the Rift Herald. Maybe even bot lane, just to be able to get a long lane there so they can use that pressure for a Baron play. Since you have Jace, who's someone who people always talk about, he kind of falls off later on, but he's always going to be a prominent split pusher, someone who can still put a lot of pressure elsewhere. They just send it mid since they saw all Dignitas trying to see if they can get the Andy Bendy and Tenacity in the bot lane.
I would think this is the right play because not only do you get the primary turret, you get a charge on a second turret, and you're getting the control that we've talked about so much, Magical, because once you have that second tier low and once it's gone, the entire top half is yours. The jungle no longer belongs to Acadian. It is all the Bear Man, and Ryoma's going to be able to camp wherever he wants.
And as well, taking that tier 1 mid lane makes it so that they can start going for the jungle play. But they got to be careful. The engage from JJ gets a flash out of Kenby, trying to see if he can escape away. Barely alive. Finally, the Feathered Recall was able to take him down, as well as Poom. 2 dead on the side of 100 Thieves. They bit off a little bit more than they could chew.
They sent 3 members topside, but what they didn't expect was for Dignitas to respond in the way they did. 5 members top. But you didn't see anyone on the map, Magical. This just seems like an overextension coming out of 100 Thieves. They saw the light, they got a little greedy, and then they got punished for it. Great capitalization by Dignitas, able to get something back in a game that is slowly slipping out of their control.
100 Thieves, they felt confident that they were the ones controlling the top side of the map. You can save from all the vision, but they forgot about the control ward behind, and that opens them up for a beautiful flank.
And also you notice the teleport coming in from the top side. It's just not quick enough. Tenacity wasn't able to get in position for the re-engage. And also, he's Jace. He can't disengage 3 members on top of his carries, and Kenby was just left out to dry.
This might look like another fight, but there is no call of towards God. Got Poom with a huge shield, and they got the dragon somehow. Ryoma was able to secure Kenby, taking down Pillow. He's able to at least get out of dodge, and somehow they secure themselves that 3rd dragon.
It's all that Leandri's proc. I think it was an additional Sand Soldier hit that managed to get it. Maybe it was a Q from Azir, but Ryoma just played that incredibly well, able to get the smite off of Acadian and get the objective. Now it's soul point for 100 Thieves.
That's wild. I would have thought, it would have been a smite or something, but I think you're right. I think it was simply one of the Sand Soldiers, and that is something to bring up about Azir. Why Azir used to be so prominent in the meta, and even though I did question it, it is starting to prove me wrong in many capacities. The fact that he was able to get a good push back into Yusui in lane, but also what it can provide around these neutral objectives, around the dragons and around the barons, how quickly he can just tear them to shreds so that they can always fight for that objective.
Speaking of fighting, Magical.
Kenby, look how fast he is though. He was exhausted and he was able to have that kind of speed. If I can't get rid of the Ragnarok Olaf, so he does lose his life there. But it is going to still be a pressure coming in from the side of 100 Thieves. They're not relenting.
Well, that's why they call him a Berserker and why he's a pretty good answer into the Azir, which again, questionable blind pick out of Ryoma. We've seen him do great things with it, but into the specific 1v1 versus Acadian, he knows that he's going to have that weakness. Curious why they keep going for these plays and why they keep thinking Morlo isn't where he actually is.
They're kind of getting themselves in a bad spot. But it's all right, it seems, for both squads. No one really gaining too much. Sure, you get a little bit of gold off of Ryoma, but you're not getting that need or that vision control to be able to fight back around these objectives. Instead, it's Poom, who still feels confident entering the jungle of Acadian, putting more vision, taking away some vision of Dignitas. And this is what I need to start seeing from Dig. When they get these plays, what can they get afterwards? What can they use to capitalize one of these deaths to get themselves in the lead, since they've still been below in gold. You can see they might have 5 kills compared to the 2 on the side of 100 Thieves, but they're down in objectives, 3 dragons to 0, down in turrets 4 to 1, and I don't see what they can do to be able to win this unless they can capitalize off those picks.
And it seems like they're going to keep on happening because 100 Thieves Academy are just going a little too aggressive, keep biting off more than they can chew. Speaking of which, Kenby going all in for this. I don't know if he's going to take too much.
A little bit of damage onto JJ. I don't know if that was exactly what they needed to do at that moment, but they do at least seem to have Spawn caught up from everyone. So they're going to be able to force them back away, push them towards the bot half of the map, and what's up? It's a Baron that's still there, and I talked about how if Ryoma spent time on this Baron, he's going to be able to take it just with these two.
And they've started it off, Magical, 10,000 and absolutely no vision. That's just the advantage that 100 Thieves Academy has gotten this entire game, pushing up the top side of the map, making sure there's no, well, there comes the blue ward, but not a whole lot you can do with that Scryer. Otherwise, they know what's happening, but Puma's got his own.
Gotta be careful. He took a lot of damage from Yusui, but it is still going to be the Baron that is picked up by 100 Thieves Academy. They're able to sneak that one away as Poom has to use the shield to be able to survive, get himself away. Lorlo on the other side. Once the call of the Forge God can come out. There it is. Well, not going to be... Oh, it's only going to get the knock up on Tenacity. Not necessarily what they want to be able to follow that up, and somehow 100 Thieves Academy, without getting a single kill, get the objective.
I think that's one of the first times I've seen a team not need a pick and not get picked off after getting a Baron. So kudos to 100 Thieves Academy, able to pick up a clean Baron off of great pressure on the top side. Now, the question is, what can Dignitas do about this? Because yes, they're behind. It's not by a whole lot. For 3,500 gold, not going to be necessarily a game ender, but don't get caught.
Gosh, Bear Slap, baby. Yusui learns the hard way. You don't mess with that. And they're going to be able to get the double kill for Tenacity. Follow it up. Kenby still wants to be able to get to the backline on spawn. He's going to be able to use the cleanse, but he cannot get away. Double kill comes in from Andy Bendy.
And that's 4 kills off of 1 push. 100 Thieves Academy, they got the Baron, they got the wave. Lorlo's the only one left alive. I have to imagine 100 Thieves are going to try to end this game.
They might, even with low death timers. They've got Baron. It's only Lorlo. No call of the Forge God, but they back out of it. They don't want to disrespect, just in case, again, with those low death timers, that they all respawn right as they're about to hit the Nexus and get completely wiped.
In all honesty, Magical, I feel like they could have pushed a little bit further. Yes, the death timers are low, but Ornn did not have Call of the Forge God. He only had his QE combo to CC, but let's take a look at this once again. The catch out, Kenby runs up, flash, bear, slap onto the Victor, and there was nothing that Yusui can do, just great combinations coming out, and that's what you need to watch out for when you're against a team with so much damage and that has a lead. You can't be caught out like that. You can't lose all 4 members. Dignitas Academy, they're in dire straits right now.
And with that, they're trying to fight around this Ocean Dragon, looking like another Ocean Soul 2 days in a row for 100 Thieves Academy, but this time they want to be able to pick up a W with it. Boom! Hanging around the other side, looking for this flank, but it's also reciprocated and mirrored by JJ right below the Dragon Pit.
And the poke's coming out, 100 Thieves Academy. They're trying to get this soul point. Ocean would be big for them because of the poke damage coming out.
JJ.
And, fight.
Had to get over the wall, and look at how low he is. Now he's in a bad spot. They're trying to get the flash out of him. They're going to be able to do just that. Look for the poke coming in from Tenacity. Poom wants to be able to continue to play. Call of the Forge God. Gets the knock up on... It's a little too late, but they're going to be able to get at least Spawn and follow it up.
Andy Bendy!
They're getting everybody that they need to. Andy Bendy, he's looking to get the ace for the team. He wants to chase down Lorlo, end the game with the TP coming in from Tenacity. Lorlo's got nowhere to go. He knows that he's done and dusted as soon as he dies, but maybe he might be able to save his life. No, there it is. Andy Bendy finishes him off, and with a Baron on top of Tenacity, he might be able to end the game.
Oh, the Baron expires just as you say it, Magical, but that doesn't stop him from trying. Rel's going to be up in 5 seconds. I don't know if that's enough to end it. Isn't. Tenacity backs off.
Yep, smart call. Not wanting to risk it. Spawn is going to spawn soon. Look at Yusui, Acadian, all of them are going to be up, but they still have all these advantages. They got themselves the Ocean Soul now, so they're going to be able to survive a lot more of the poke that comes in from Dignitas. They can rinse and repeat if they want to. Sure, we still got another 2.5 minutes until the Baron spawns, but if they can find another fight like that one, even if it was a little bit messier than they would have liked to, they could still win.
Honestly, it was just a great combo coming out. You thought it was over when JJ went in, had the Magnetic Storm, was able to get a lot of damage off, but then Andy Bendy finds the escape, finds the damage that he needs, and there is just nothing that you can do against Poom's set because he is coming for some damage, and he's going to get it.
Look how fast he is, too. He's just zooming around the map, trying to see if he can follow up Kenby, and Kenby a little bit faster with the Dead Man's Plate and the Turbo Chem thing. But look at this play. It starts off with Kenby actually being the one caught out, and Poom was able to help clean it up.
Yeah, it's all about Poom on the backside. He's able to get the nice face splitter, getting 4 stunned, I believe that was, and Andy Bendy on the backside just deals the consistent damage that he's had all game, able to do so much, and with the teleport, although not able to end the game, Tenacity has still been putting up some great numbers, and hopefully he'll be able to continue that going into the rest of this game.
Lorlo, he wanted so bad to be able to recall. Even use an Emperor's Divide just to make sure he's not going to be able to survive.
Yep.
He tried. You know, it was a valiant effort.
It was also just to get a little bit more CC in case that teleport were to go off. Not that it would have made a huge difference, but it's still the disrespect coming out of Ryoma, who sits killless in this game. Unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he's not too sad about it.
I mean, when you got 7 assists and you also have Andy Bendy that has 5-0-4 scoreline on Kaisa, you'll take those. You'll take those wins.
Yeah, and he'll also take his second item of the game. He's finished the Nastra's Tooth. He has the stopwatch available and the Leandri's finished, so he is looking pretty darn powerful, sitting at 25.5 or almost 26 minutes. He's going to be a major threat, and hopefully Dignitas can get on him, but as they've shown, it's very, very difficult to get on more than one person using both the Call of the Forge God and the Magnetic Storm coming out from JJ.
Looking at Andy Bendy, still being the one to helm that lead for the team. You can even see it with the items. You mentioned that Ryoma getting a lot of those items, but look at that. A full item from Andy Bendy over that of Spawn. The laning phase went so poorly for that poor Xayah Rel lane that it's continued here into 26, 27 minutes into the game, where it feels like the Xayah just cannot keep up with Andy Bendy, who keeps throwing out so much damage and being able to be such a force.
The gap has become quite a chasm between these two AD carries, but it's really come down to the team play. They've been able to keep consistent damage and consistent pressure on that bot side, keeping Andy Bendy alive, getting him the kills that he needs, and making sure he is the economy to be the carry they need.
Forge God gets the knock up onto Tenacity, followed up, but here goes Boom into the back line. Unfortunately, it couldn't save the top lane. He shut down Kenvi and Ryoma trying to pull the same trick twice, but that time they get themselves caught out in a bad 3v5, and this might allow Dignitas to be able to take the Baron themselves.
And they're going to start it up. They've got 5 members strong, virtually no health bars that are low. Yusui's a little bit, but Kenvi's going to come in, and maybe the poke makes a difference. Good.
Emperor's Divide to knock back JJ. Ryoma, though, followed up by Acadian. Has to take the soldier to be able to get over the wall. The flash coming in from Andy Bendy to be able to stay alive. They've got Dignitas to peel off the Baron. They're going right back to it, knowing that they got so many members of 100 Thieves Academy low.
But Ryoma has the teleport, so they're not done fighting this necessarily magical. You can see Kenvi and Andy Bendy positioning for it. They're going to fight again.
He doesn't have flash, though. He's got the blast gun. Over the wall he goes. Is he going to be able to steal it? He's going to try his damage. He's not going to be able to get it. Secured by Spawn. They get the kill on a JJ. Returned by Kenvi. They're trying to see if they can get away. Acadian is going to be the sacrifices. Both Spawn and Lorlo can hold on to that damn Baron. Be able to get themselves something to keep fighting back.
I don't know if butter smite is a word, but certainly should be, because that was as close as it could possibly get in that engagement. 30 HP on that Baron left as Yusui gets poked out just a little bit more, but that almost went completely wrong for Dignitas Academy.
Literally just needed anybody to auto-attack it at that point. I was like, who's gonna get it? We gotta take a look at this replay where it starts off with the TP in behind. Kenvi as well using this blast gun, and like you said, it gets down to 30 health.
Both junglers use Smite here. You can see, there comes Smite. 21, 30, 20, 33. Where was it going, dude? And then the follow-up coming in from 100 Thieves Academy, able to make it so it's not a clean Baron. They get the 2 picks, and they are happy to back off for now, knowing that Elder Dragon is the next objective coming up in about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Sam, you don't give a damn if it's a clean Baron or not for Dignitas. You just care that you got the damn Baron.
That's true. At this point in the game, especially for Dignitas, they're happy with anything they can get, and with this pressure, maybe they can force 100 Thieves Academy to back off just a little bit, which is exactly what they need right now.
This is starting to have a couple echoes of yesterday, where 100 Thieves Academy, they were the ones that were able to get these leads. An Ocean Dragon as well I talked about. They got the same thing yesterday, where they were in such a commanding lead, but Evil Geniuses were able to wrestle that back from them, can get some control around these team fights, these late game objectives, and it seems like Dignitas are doing the exact same thing. It's deja vu for 100 Thieves Academy. We need to see them find these proper fights, find these proper flanks if they want to be able to take this game unlike yesterday.
And with that, we're starting to get to the late stages of the game, Magical. And you know what happens when Lorlo gets to the late stages of the game? He gets very happy and makes his team very happy. You can see the items already coming through. Leandri's has been upgraded, as has the Gale Force. So both the carries on the side of Dignitas Academy are looking pretty darn scary.
What is that? Leandri's Tempest and Typhoon is what they call those new ones. Trying to remember all the names for it. As right now, it is the Elder Dragon that has spawned. Dignitas, the one with the inside track, but they do got to be careful. There's only one turret separating that Nexus from defeat. All 100 Thieves have to do is see if they want to try to bait them in. Instead, they're trying to fight around this Elder Dragon that's down to 50% health. They don't have Kenby in a position to be able to get this. Instead, it's going to be JJ with the Matic Egg.
Call the forge gun.
They got the dock up, but they need to. Boom, though. Look at the shield that he's able to
damage.
Get. They turn it around, and somehow they're finding the fight, finding the place. Lorlo, last one, shut down by Tenacity.
Oh no, the positioning coming out of Dignitas Academy. They were too bunched up. They thought they had the engage, but Ryoma puts a beautiful Emperor's Divide and allows Andy Bendy to do what he does best. Get the kills, clean up the game, and then push it for a win. 100 Thieves Academy, very well played at the end. And Dignitas, man, oh man, so close.
That's what we needed to see. One more clean team fight. Get the flanks, get the plays, and Bendy even dies to the shutdown of the Fountain. But it doesn't matter. They get the W, and we'll go 3-3 after week 3.
Honestly, just so back and forth. Dignitas, I thought they were completely out of it at certain points in the game, Magical. I thought that there was such a low percentage chance of coming back, but they get the Baron, they get those picks up top several times in a row. 100 Thieves Academy, they may have won the game, but it was not the cleanest thing we've ever seen.
No, not at all. It definitely had some hiccups there around the Barons, around some of those plays, getting themselves picked off in situations they really didn't need to be pushing out so far with 3 members. Well, you had 2 trying to get the Baron, try to sneak that away again. However, it doesn't matter. A W is a W. You'll take every victory that you can get, and once they finally found the team fight that worked for them, where you talked about how Puma was able to get into the backline, but then also have Andy Bendy with all that damage on that Kaisa. That's exactly what they needed, and Ryoma as well on that Azir. Sure, he might not have had all the kills for the team, but he had some great Emperor's Divides to be able to really clean up those fights.
Honestly, you don't need kills. As it turns out, you are the soldier in this case. You think you summon him, you turn out to be one. At the end of the day, Andy Bendy, very well played, and Poom as well. We didn't talk about him too much throughout the game, but his set, pretty darn clean setting up a couple of those plays.
It was fun to see a set support. We haven't seen it in a while, and finally getting to see it there, and how much domination it was able to exert in lane, and then when the team fights came as well. And this is why Set for so long had been so dominant, just his displacement tools that he has with both Facebreaker and Showstopper to be able to really switch around how the team fights work for any teams, and Boom piloted it perfectly.
Definitely a great game coming out. 100 Thieves Academy, I feel like this is a team that always plays the same strat. It doesn't always work for them, but I admire and respect their ability to just consistently play the way they want to. Golden Glue has been teaching these boys pretty darn well, and hopefully they'll be able to push this a little bit further, because now they sit at 3-3 on the table, Magical. That's a pretty scary spot to be in.
Right dead even, and they're hoping they're going to be able to keep climbing up that ladder. But for right now, we're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we're going to have a player interview, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back into Academy. We're here getting ready for our player interview presented by Verizon Wireless. Should be really fun. We've got Ryoma on the line to be able to talk to him about his victory that 100 Thieves Academy were just able to take over Dignitas Academy. So, Ryoma, I want to ask you a bit about that game because you guys had a solid lead going up in like the first half of the game, but there's a couple hiccups that happened towards the mid game. What was happening during that?
Okay. The second Baron was my bad. I think I got a bit too worked up. I think we just needed to play a bit slower, and I think we would have had that game. Just, wait for the right time to start it. Kind of like the first one, but I felt like I could try to do that, again. But, yeah, I just needed to play a bit slower.
And speaking of playing slower, I want to go back to the very beginning of the game, even before the game, if you don't mind me asking. You picked this Azir. Now, was that a Golden Glue choice? Was that a you choice? And how confident were you just blind picking this, not knowing what you're going to be against?
Definitely a Golden Glue choice, but I think, I think Azir's a strong pick right now. At least I think he's pretty well rounded. He fits into most team comps, so it's very easy to play around him. And I wouldn't say there's much picks that you can pick into him. I don't think the counters right now are really good in the meta. They just don't suit how you want to play the game. So that's why I feel like Azir's just a strong pick in general right now.
Yeah, that's fair. And right now, you guys are sitting 3-3 in the standings. You got about 2 more weeks of normal, regular gameplay going out for you guys. And so, how do you guys feel for the rest of the season going forward? Do you guys feel like, as a unit, as a team, that you're finally figuring out how to work together?
I'd say there's still a lot to work on. I think there's just a lot of planning stuff. I feel like in Academy, that's pretty much what you have to work on, just planning and how you want to set up plays. I think if we get that down to notch, I think we can definitely be the best team in Academy.
And I'm glad that you're hungry for that, because sometimes, everyone gets a little bit hungry. If you were hungry, Ryoma, what would you say is your go-to snack food right now?
If I was hungry? I don't know. Probably a Kit Kat.
Kit Kat. Right on, dude.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You know what? Now I'm getting hungry. You guys are making me hungry. But thank you, Ryoma, for joining us for that interview. It was great having you in. Congratulations on the victory. Good luck for the rest of the season. We'll catch you next time and see how you're going to be able to do everything. All right. Well, that was great having Ryoma here, Sam. And I like that you asked about his favorite snack. What is your favorite snack, then? I have to ask you this now.
That's a tough one, because honestly, it goes in waves. Honestly, I'm a huge goldfish fan. Can't get enough of them. Just delicious. No, not the fish magical. I know that's what you're going for. Don't.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
No, the snack food. Pretty good.
Okay. Anyways, that's going to be it for us for the interview now. We're going to get set up for the next game, so we're going to toss it to a break, and when we come back, we're going to have Cloud9 Academy up against Immortals Academy. So stick around through the break. We'll be right back.